Hey guys, my name is Michael Reed and I own an all-electric lawn service called Quiet Lawn. One of the most common questions we get asked from people curious about getting into using electric equipment or transitioning from gas equipment is how it affects their training, what kind of learning curve there is, and things like that. And while for the most part electric is much simpler, there are some things that I've noticed after almost 5 years of this and training several dozen employees. The single biggest learning curve I've discovered with every employee, including myself, every one of them has to go through this, is learning to not associate noise with power. And let me explain. So with gas equipment, a gas trimmer, gas blower, when you want more power, you rev it up, it gets louder, and you think it's doing more. It's doing more work. The problem when you're used to that, when you go to electric, is you don't have that same noise. So when we have guys start out, they'll be using the equipment and it's barely running, it's not very loud, and they think it's not doing anything when in fact it's doing its job, it's cutting like it needs to, but because they don't hear the noise, they think it's not working, so they end up revving it up as high as they can. And what that does with battery, if you use twice as much power, you don't use double the amount of batteries, you use quadruple the amount. The amount of energy you use grows exponentially. So here's what happens. So guys will start out with us, and this is about the normal. That right there doesn't sound very loud, but that is I've pulled the trigger probably 30% in, but that will cut through anything you need to cut to. But the new guys, when they start out, they don't associate that with power. So what happens is they rev it all the way up right there, and they end up using so much power that they're tearing up stuff, they're tearing up vinyl siding, they're tearing up whatever they hit. And also these 5 amp hour batteries that typically last 6 to 8 yards are getting depleted in 1 or 2 yards. So they end up using a lot more batteries. Same thing with the blower. They'll be holding it, instead of using it the way that I'm going to show you in another video, they end up holding it on turbo the whole time, and then they use the whole battery in 15 minutes and might get 1 or 2 yards out of it. So this is something you definitely want to train your employees or yourself when you switch to electric equipment, is to stop associating that noise with power and look at what the piece of equipment is doing and see if it's adequate for what you need. Because the unfortunate side of the batteries is it's not like a gas equipment where you can just run to the gas station and get more gas. You have a certain amount of batteries with you every day, and you need to be responsible with your usage. But yeah, that's the single biggest issue, and I find that it typically takes 4 to 6 weeks for guys to really dial in the right amount of power. So that's a normal thing. If you hire employees, that's one thing you can expect, that they're going to be burning through a lot more batteries a lot more frequently their first month or 6 weeks until they kind of get used to the equipment. During that time, you can send them with a charger, you can send them with extra batteries if you have them, but they are going to be using probably at least twice as many batteries during the first part. One modification I've made in the past to ego trimmers, I call it putting training wheels on the trimmer, is that I will put a screw here in the grip and the trigger that only allows the trigger to go so deep. It only allows it to go to that point where they're not going to max it out. But I don't like doing that because that doesn't teach the employees how to control the amount of throttle. But that is one option if you're just your guys are just burning through batteries like crazy, is you can kind of put a governor, so to speak, on it. But I hope that was helpful. If you have any comments or feedback, or if you've had any experience with your employees or any ways that you've taught your employees that get that point across better so that learning curve is reduced, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you.